Vinny, I want to do the BRRRR method and make a lot of money. Can you teach me that? I say, sure. Is that really what you think you want to do, make a lot of money? Yeah, that's what I hear all the time, the gurus. It's all over the internet. It's all over Instagram and TikTok. They're making a ton of money. I said, oh yeah, they're making a ton of money. And how much are they charging you for this information on how to do this method, right? Oh, $2,500, $3,000, $5,000. Stop. Stop the nonsense. Stop chasing the shiny objects. You're going to get it here for free at the Golden Triangle Academy. Let's get into it, all right? The truth about the BRRRR method. Here we go. For those that don't know what it means, okay, which I'm sure there's not very many, it means you buy a property, you rehab that property, you rent that property, you refinance it, get the money back out, and then you repeat the process. That's what the BRRRR method stands for. Now, let me just say this, okay? I was an investor for 35, 40 years, my wife included, okay? This is what we did, okay? Now, we bought turnkeys and we did corporate rentals, but we bought for cash flow and equity. We bought and held is what we did. We never called this as a method. This is what we did. Just so you understand, this is guru talk, okay? This is what gurus say to sell you something that you never heard of. It's a shiny object. Ooh, the BRRRR method. I better plunk down $3,000 to learn that. And then when you don't buy anything and you don't have a property, you realize the only one who makes money are the damn gurus, okay? Well, Vinny, you're a guru. No, I'm not a guru. I'm a teacher. That's what I am. I've got 40 years experience. I owned a mortgage company. I've owned property. I've built homes. I owned a credit repair company. I'm teaching you this stuff. I'm teaching you not to get ripped off by the gurus. Okay, so let's get into this. What are the pros? Okay, there are places you can do this, and I'm going to get into that. And the places that you can do it, you will make cash flow and equity, okay? Monthly cash flow. What is equity? Equity is the difference between what a house is worth and what you owe. The difference is equity. Okay, meaning this. Here's a house. It's got a fair market value of $100,000. I know it's low. This is an example. You owe $60,000. Okay, well, you have $40,000 in equity. Okay, that's what equity is, the difference between that and that. By the way, let me teach you this along the way. You also have a loan to value of 60%. 60,000 divided by 100. The loan to the value of the house, right? Loan to value. So if you borrowed $60,000, right, to pay off your $60,000 that you owed, you would have a loan to value of 60%, or what we call LTV. Okay? So just to give you those two little slang words. Okay, let's get into this. Oh, I already did. Cash flow and equity. Okay? Let's talk about the cons. Number one, limited properties. Where are you going to find them to do it? Okay? We're going to get into that. Very limited properties. That's the problem. Number two, this is not something where you could do with bad credit. This is not creative financing, okay? You must be able to qualify for a loan to be able to refinance. Oh, the gurus talk about a non-QM DSCR loan. You better have damn good credit to do a DSCR. By the way, what does DSCR stand for? DSCR, what does that stand for? That stands for debt service, covered ratio. Got ahead of myself. Debt service covered ratio, DSCR. Okay, that's a non-QM program, meaning non-qualified mortgages, right? That's not where you go to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. I don't get a little, mixing you up here a little bit, but just so you understand, this is where the property qualifies and not you. Okay, and people will say, oh, well, I don't have to qualify for a loan. Yes, you do. You still have to qualify. You have to have good credit. You don't have to prove your income, but you have to have good credit. So you still need to qualify for the loan. Okay? Don't worry if you don't understand this yet. I'm going to get into teaching that in a bit. Okay? Now, to do this, who's doing your rehab work? You? How much experience do you have? You better have a damn good crew, okay? Because you make money by getting in and getting out, okay? And you better be able to do things right, Okay? So get a crew. You better know how to estimate. Okay? You better know how to do estimations for the rehab work. Who's doing the work? Okay? So a crew, and you better know how to estimate. Right? You need to know the market. Okay? And you better have money to get this thing started, or you better be able to borrow the money. Well, why do I need to know the market? Well, who are you going to trust on the value of the homes when it's all done? You're going to trust the realtors? Right? I wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw them. Trust me. They're going to tell you anything just to get a loan done. Know the market that you're investing in. Okay? We preach that here. Got to know your market that you're in. Okay? So there's the cons. Now, let's get into this a little bit more. All right? Now, remember, this, my friends, is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, in this teaching module here on, YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff. This is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We really get into this at the Academy, and I'm going to be giving a lot of this away for free, okay? This is just the overview of it and why people fail at this. I'm going to get much more into details. Okay, now, teaching this in class, the first thing that I tell to my students is, okay, if you were doing this, where would you start? Where would you start the process at? Where would you start the process at? Where this is where you need to start, right here. This is number one. Okay, why is that number one? Because this is the money. Okay? This is how much money you could get out at the end, right? To be able to repeat the process, to buy again, because you need the money to do it over, right? To repeat it. So, how much money can we get? Now, just for those that don't know, anybody who becomes a student at the Golden Triangle Academy, you get a binder, right? And you get this information in here that gives you all the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, non-QM, right? Loan-to-value guidelines and all that other good stuff. So you know this off the top of your head, okay? So if you were going to refinance, there's going to teach you two different ways, okay? Number one way, right, is the best way for cash flow. That's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Okay? Now, for a 1 unit, you can go to 75 LTV, loan to value. On a 2 to 4 unit, you can go to 70 LTV. Okay? That's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That's where you're going to get your best rates. Okay? But it's a full doc loan, means you're going to qualify. W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, all that stuff. Okay? Now, the other way you can go is this way. By the way, this is called QM, or qualified mortgages. Okay, back in my day, and I've been doing this 40 years, okay? Back in my day, we called this prime, conforming, right? Conventional. Now, and when '08 hit, the government got involved and they called it qualified mortgages. I don't know why. Stupid. Now, they call the things that aren't this non-QM, or non-qualified mortgages. So you could go this non-QM way, which is basically commercial financing is what this is, and you can borrow up to 85% LTV. And you can do it as a no-doc, which merely means no income, okay? No income verification. Okay? The property qualifies. Now, I do a whole video on the difference between DSCR and debt to income, okay? Where here you qualify, here the property qualifies. But we're not going to get into that right now. All I want you to know is the maximum that you can get out of this at the end, okay? But listen, the interest rates are way higher, okay? So we don't want to even talk about that right now. That's emergency purposes only. We're going to go non-QM if, for any reason, you screw up and you don't have enough loan to value to go Fannie and Freddie, and you can only go non-QM, okay? So, just remember, you also have to pay closing costs. And for our instance, we're just going to calculate 5%. Now, it's not quite 5%, depending on the taxes and the insurance, right? In your PITI, it might get up as high as that, okay? So 70% is the amount of money you're going to put in your pocket at the end, okay? So for instance, if you wanted to buy this house that had a fair market value of $200,000, with $40,000 in repair needed. Now, a lot of you like to say ARV. We don't say that in class, ARV, after repair value. Why? Because, listen, grab any appraiser and ask them if they've ever heard of ARV. They're going to say they might have heard of it, but it's nowhere on an appraisal, okay? Nowhere on there. It's called fair market value with a cost to cure or subject to the repairs, okay? That's how we say it in the real world. Excuse me for 1 second while I get my drink, okay? Now, but I'm not that much of a stickler, and if you want to call it ARV, be my guest. But when you hear me talk, I say FMV, fair market value, because that's the professional world, okay? Okay, now, so this is our scenario. So now we go right to here, like I talked about, refinance. So we have to do this. We take our calculator. We say, okay, if we're going to go Fannie and Freddie, we're going to get 70%. We're going to do 75, but we're going to subtract out our closing costs. So $200,000 times 70% is what? That's $140,000. But now we have $40,000 in repair cost, right? So $100,000. That's what we can buy. Now remember this though, kids. Remember this. This is what you have left at the end, okay? But if you were counting your pennies the right way, remember when you buy the property, not only are you paying the purchase price, you also have closing costs that are involved, okay? So if you're counting your dollars, you say, okay, well, I bought it for $100,000, but it also cost me $10,000 in closing costs, and I want to get that back, right? Because it's 10 grand out of my pocket. Well, guess what? Now it's 90,000 is your buy price. Because 90 plus your 10, you're at 100. And that's what you got in your pocket. Now, on top of that, what if this isn't your money in your checking or savings or your IRA or your 401k, but you got to go hard money loan? Well, that costs money every month. It costs money up front and it costs money every month. Plus your carrying cost, okay? So, but we're not even going to talk about that right now. So we're just going to say this $100,000, okay? So here's my question to you. You bought it for $100,000 plus the 10, so you're all in at 110, okay? You're in at 110. Let me ask you this, okay? You bought it for 100. It's worth 200. Where do you think you're going to go buy a property that's worth $200,000, has 40 grand in repairs that you're going to get for 100 grand? Where are you getting that? Where are you going to buy it at 50 cents on the dollar, right? Where do you think you're going to do it? Well, I'm going to tell you where. I'm going to tell you where you're going to be able to do this, right? Because you only got two options, right? The first option is the inner city. That's option number one. Option number two is resort areas. That's where you're going to be able to find these. But you're going to have competition in the resort areas. Let me tell you this. Good luck trying to find properties at 50 cents on the dollar. Now, if there's a realtor involved, that's even worse. Because if you think for 1 second they're going to let a $200,000 property with 40 grand in repairs go for 100, you're insane. They're going to put it up for 180, right? And they're going to have lower, right, to get it sold at the 160 mark. But they're not going to give this away. Listen, just talk to any flipper out there. This is what my flippers, guys that come to my academy, and gals, sorry, when I say it, it's plural, men and women, gals, guys, right? So when I say guys, I mean all of us encompassed, okay? So when they come to me and they say, where do I find these properties? I say, you can't. There's no hidden secret. There's no secret to buying property at 50 cents on the dollar. Would you do it? I teach this in class all the time, especially when it comes to creative financing. Now, this is not creative financing, but just ask yourself this question. If I had a house that was worth $200,000 at 40 grand in repairs, would I sell it for $100,000? No, I wouldn't. And neither would any other seller. They want the most amount of money out of it. Now, yeah, you're going to find somebody who's completely desperate. So you will once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon, you may get lucky, but you're going to have a ton of competition, right? Or you're going to find it's got to be off the market and somebody's got to be completely desperate. So you might get it. But if you get that one, where's number 2, number 3, number 4, where you can constantly make money? It's not out there. It is not out there, okay? So even before you talk about rehabbing and renting it and all this other stuff, just go right to the refinance part. Go all before you try and do any of this or spend any money on any guru to buy this or talk about this method. And trust me, we're going to give this away for free for you. We're going to get into more details. There's going to be more videos here for you for free on this method, okay? So just all you have to do before you spend a penny, go out there, look at property, and see if you could buy something for that amount of money. Just talk to a realtor, right? Go find houses that are in need of repair. Talk to the realtor and say, hey, would you take $100,000 for this? Right? I'm an investor. Would you take 100? See if they'd laugh at you or if they'd say, well, they're all going to say this. Put it in writing. Put your offer together, right? And if you do that, you better have the money to do it, right? But I'm just telling you right now, excuse me, my knee's hurting. I gotta grab my chair. I'm sorry. I need a knee replacement, so sometimes I got to sit down and my knee's really bothering me right now. So my point is that you're not going to be able to find these properties. That's the problem, okay? Now let's get into a little bit more of it, okay? Now remember how we talked about the fair market value is $200,000? Well, who came up with that value? Did a realtor give you that value? Did an appraiser give you that value? Did you come up with that value? How did you come up with that value? Did you pull good comps or did you pull old comps? How did you do it? Okay? A, I would never trust the realtors. Either get a good appraiser, right? Because those guys know comps. Or even better, know the market. And you know the values. Okay? When me and my wife bought property, we could tell you the value of any property in any condition, what it's worth, right, in the area, because we knew the market, right? Why? Because we drove around, we went to every open house, right? We constantly looked at properties, we constantly stayed up on everything, because that was our job. We knew the market, okay? Then the question is, okay, $40,000 in repairs. Let me just show you something, okay? Let me show you this. If the $40,000 turned into $60,000 in repairs, what's your loan to value then, right? Because trust me, $40,000 turns to $60,000 in a blink of an eye, right? So let's just say, okay, you put, let's see, you bought it for $100, right? You put $10,000 in closing cost, plus you just put $60,000. Oops, you put $60,000, so you're $170,000. Divide that by what did we say, $200,000? Okay, you're at an 85 LTV. Now you got to go non-QM. So the money that you thought you were going to make is now gone. Okay. And guess what? If you're not making any cash flow, okay, you got 15% equity, but how are you getting it out? You can't get a second mortgage on it, right? No one's going to 85, no one's going to 100, right? Meaning no one's going to lend you 100% of the value of the house and go into the second lien position, okay? You're not getting that. So what are you going to do with the house? You're not making any cash flow. You're sitting there with 15% equity. Okay, good for you. If something goes wrong with that house that you just rehabbed, now you're screwed. Hopefully it doesn't go wrong. But if you don't have a good crew, you got crap stuff done, it's only going to break down in no time for you. That's why you got to have a good crew. And that's why you got to know how to estimate, because trust me when I tell you this. You think something is $40,000? Trust me, it's $60,000 or $70,000 in the blink of an eye. What they do it a lot, and this is why I'm telling you about your crews, right? Trust me when I tell you this. Number one, if you don't have a good crew, you're not going to find a crew now, okay? And if you don't know how to do the work, you're in big trouble. Because here's what's going to happen to you. They're going to give you an estimate of $40,000, and they're going to want half the money down. And then when they get in there, they're going to say, oh, well, we had to do this and we had to do this. You know, it's another 10 grand here, 10 grand. Now you're another 10, 20. Trust me, that 40 means 60, okay? If you don't believe me, talk to any flipper, any of them. And see how many people lost money on the first 3, 4, 5 houses. Why? Because they didn't know how to estimate. They didn't have good crews. They got screwed over. Right? I'm just telling you this is just so you don't get screwed. Now, if you're a contractor, you're a realtor, you're an appraiser, Okay, you got a much better shot. I love if you're a contractor to do this. Your only issue is trying to find the properties. They're going to be difficult. Okay? Why? Because everybody's trying to do it. All the flippers are doing this. Now, we never call this, and look, I was an investor for a long time. Me and my wife were investors for a long time. Me longer than her. Okay? This is the stuff that we did, but we never called it a BRRRR method. This is what somebody does to you to buy their program. Right? Give me the shiny object, the BRRRR method, and with the DSCR, and you're like, oh my God, this sounds so incredible. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there laughing at them, and they want to charge you $2,500, and then you go and try and do a property, and you realize this is impossible to get done, and I just wasted $25,000, $5,000, whatever the money is. Don't do it. I'm going to give it away for free. I'm going to give it all away for free, right? So trust me, just because you think you can maybe buy a property, right? Good luck finding it. And if you find it, right, did you come up with the value right? Right? Just say you're off by 10 grand. Listen, just say you're off by a little bit of money. This 200 turns to 190. This 40 turns to 60. What are you going to do then? Especially if you took a hard money loan out. How are you going to pay your hard money loan out? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this real quick. Okay? Let's do this. Let's say this 200,000 turned into 190. Okay? Let's say this 40 turned to 60. What are the numbers now? Okay? So now you've got 160,000, right? And that's not even the closing cost, right? We got to throw in 10,000 for the closing cost, right? 170 divided by 190. Okay? That's not, it's an 89 LTV, right? 90 LTV. Okay? Who's doing that? And how are you now going to pay this guy back or girl? How are you paying that company back? Right? And you're only off by a little bit. And trust me, 40 turns to 60 in a blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. How are you paying the hard money lender back? By the way, we didn't add in, okay, if you're a rookie and you don't have a hard money lender, it's your first time, right? You're paying points. Okay, what's a point? It's 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount. So 1 point equals 1%. So if you have a $200,000 loan, right, you're paying $2,000 fee. And trust me, you're not paying 1 point, you're paying 3. Okay? So that's going to cost you $6,000 up front, just in points, right? Not including the rest of your closing costs. And by the way, you're paying 10% minimum on this hard money loan. I know hard money lenders that are out at 15%, right? You're paying double digits. Month after month after month, you're paying it. Now, it's interest only, okay, meaning you're only paying interest, you're not paying the principal down, so it's a little bit cheaper. But every month, you're paying it, plus the taxes, the insurance, plus the electric bill. Now, that's not a lot of money, granted, I get it, but you're still paying it every month out of your pocket. So trust me, these numbers add up quickly. Quickly. And how are you going to pay the hard money lender back? If these numbers are just off by a little bit because you ran shitty comps or you had crappy builder who just wanted to sell the property up front. Oh, yeah, it's worth $200,000 when you're done with it. And you trust them. And you realize they're lying crap a sack. Right? And you go out and you do an appraisal. What happens? It comes in at 180. Hey, Jesus, God, I owe 160 on it. Plus my closing cost. Plus my carrying cost. I'm underwater. I just lost money. And that's what happens to most of people. They lose money. Oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I see it over and over and over and over again. Now listen, if you don't want to be one of these people that gets screwed over by doing this stuff, there we go. If you don't want to get screwed over, just text the word GOLD under 21,000, $59 a month. Join now. You get access to me. You get step-by-step hand-holding on how to do all this stuff, right? This stuff we give away for free because we know it doesn't work. I'll see you in class.